Hello and welcome back, beautiful soul, to another episode of Permission to Follow Your Inner GPS, your inner guided purpose soul path. Our featured guest today is Jen Shultz. I am your host, Angel Lady Terry Marie, Crystal Goddess, Intuitive Angel Channel and Empath Coach, and help you get rid of your BS karma. That's what one of my clients told me recently. I went, okay, I like that. So without further ado, we'll get right into our beautiful guest today. She is the founder of the non-9 to 5 business structure or business plan. She is a mentor and teaches non-9 to 5ers who are new in business, anywhere from a few months to a few years, how to stay with the business building process so they don't get overwhelmed and feel like they have to go back to 9 to 5 when that is no longer their purpose and they don't want to be there anymore. So, please welcome Jen Shultz, and beautiful, tell us about your journey.
Well, first of all, thank you for that wonderful, beautiful introduction. I have never heard it introduced like that, and it was so, thank you so much. Wow. I really felt that, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And now I forgot the question you asked me.
That's all right. This is, it's more like a conversation, and we're sharing with our viewers your journey, because there are a lot of folks out there who are either not or are non-9 to 5ers or don't want to be that anymore. So how did you shift from one to the other?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So, well, it started in 2010, and in December of 2010, I walked into the place I was working for. I was a New York City school teacher. I was working with first grade students. And at that time in my life, I felt really confused, really overwhelmed, really overworked and tired, and massively depressed. I was pretty clear I was in a depression because I had gone through depressions before then. And for me, really push came to shove. And I walked in one day and I gave 2 weeks notice. But I always like to share, when I went in and gave those 2 weeks notice, I did not feel good. I did not feel confident. I didn't feel bold. I didn't feel brave. I didn't feel courageous. I really was at bottom. I really hit bottom for myself. All I knew was that I couldn't be there anymore and that I wasn't fulfilling on my purpose, but I still had no idea what my purpose was.
That's really scary, because most, not all, but most people at least have an idea what they're going to be doing, even if they don't have a clue as to how it's going to happen or what the next step is. And for you, it was just, you knew you had to go.
Yeah, and I appreciate you sharing that. The one thing that I did know was that, and it was really deep inside of me, because there were a lot of loud voices in my head saying, you're a loser, you're a jerk, what are you doing? You're leaving a full-time job, you're leaving a paycheck, you're leaving benefits. And that was so loud, but at the same time, underneath all of that was, there's something more for me to do, and there's something I'm supposed to do on my own, and something I'm supposed to create on my own. And so I left, and there was no job, there was nothing, but I just put one foot in front of the other, and I started creating. And I asked myself, what do I know? What can I do? And I knew the world of education because I'd been teaching for a couple of years. So I thought, well, how can I sort of do this on my own? Because I knew going back to another school was definitely not the answer. And I started doing some independent contracting work. And I did one-on-one work with students with disabilities. And my father said to me one day, as I was going through this process of who am I and what am I doing, and I'm just kind of working, doing this independent contracting work, he said very nonchalantly, why don't you start your own tutoring business? And I think I looked at him and I said, I don't know, that sounds like a pretty good idea. And there was a bit of excitement behind that, because what I realized was I could create this on my own. I could really do this. I could have something that I was creating and also be able to serve and support others. So the independent contracting work turned into, I call it my sort of first business, because I didn't really go full-fledged into it. It was called Teacher on the Go. And I worked,
Oh.
yeah. I remember the logo that I had someone create was a cartoon version of me, like on the go, like I was running and I had a backpack on with like pencil in my hand and books or something. And I started working private and got to work directly with parents, where I created beautiful relationships with parents, beautiful relationships with these students. I did this for about 3 years. And then I came to this next point of my life where I was a student of a workshop, and there was a bunch of women. There's probably about 12 of us in this workshop, an in-person workshop. And I started taking this workshop, and it was about purpose and passion. And I'm watching the woman teach us and talk to us and transfer her own knowledge and passions to us. And I had a light bulb epiphany moment, and it was, I should go into coaching. I love teaching. I love helping others. Yes. You know, just when you know it feels right. There was my intuition. And I did some research. I ended up becoming a certified professional coach. But the story doesn't go all rainbows and roses from there, which I wish it did. But it didn't.
And that's what some people promise, is all, take my course, do this, and immediately after, that's the insinuation.
Right. Yeah. But it's not like that. Life doesn't work like that. So what happened for me was I do timelines in my head. I know the months, I know days of everything. It was my third bout of depression. I fell into another depression. It was very interesting though, because I watched myself going into it and I knew I was in it. So I started doing things to help support myself with therapy and doing things like that. But that depression really came from, wait, I thought I figured it out. I thought I was already like on the cusp of getting to where I was supposed to be. And that was in 2013. And what had happened there was I had gone for this coaching certification. And I thought, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to start this coaching business. And I'm going to work with people. I'm going to make money. I'm going to help them. It's going to be great. But I had no idea how to run a business.
Right.
I had no idea. So, so around the summer of 2013, in walked, that's how I like to say it, in walked my now mentor. So I have my own, I provide business mentoring, and I have my own business mentor. And it was divine timing. It was divinely guided. It was all very universal and intuitive. And I had gone through this really heavy depressive place. And during that summer, I started to slowly come out of it. And I remember what came to me, and this is actually right before I met my mentor. And this part, I can't say the day, the why or when or how, but I remember coming to a place where I asked myself a couple of questions. And I thought, I'm really afraid. I'm coming from a place of fear. I'm afraid of so much, and I can't seem to create what I want, and I don't know certain things. And the next question I said to myself was, what's the opposite of fear? And what came to my mind was love. And part of me went, well, that's stupid. What is that supposed to be? And then I was like, well, that's really interesting. What does that mean, love? And what I started to do was I started to take these very tiny baby steps that I just thought would be love-based decisions and love-based actions. I had this full acknowledgement that I was fully in fear. And the fear caused me to tell myself more of, I'm a loser, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm stupid, I'll never go anywhere, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, I'll never have what I want. And so then I started asking myself, well, what could love look like? And at that time in my life, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I had moved out of one apartment into another borough in New York City. I was living in a totally new place. And I thought to myself, well, what are some basic decisions I can make for myself? And I had, at that time, I was still working with a student. And one of the fear-based decisions I made was to stop working with that student. And so I stopped myself from generating any money or just even be able to help that student. And I remember going, why am I doing this? Why am I making this decision? And I thought, well, I'm really afraid. And so I remember I'd already told the student's mother I'm not going to be working with her anymore. And then I when I got to this place of, that's a fear-based decision, I picked up the phone one day and I said, I want to keep working with your daughter. Is this possible? And she said to me, well, we're already interviewing other teachers for her, because I was homeschooling her. She was an autistic child. I was homeschooling her. And I thought, okay. I had this feeling of calm, which was so odd for me, of if I'm meant to work with her, it'll come back to me. And a couple of days later or a week later, her mom called me up and said, we'd like to continue working with you. None of the people we interviewed thought would be a good match for her. And that was a real, like, kind of kick in the butt moment of all those fear-based decisions. And so when I started making decisions like that, that's when in walked my now mentor, who has taught me so much. And over the past 5 years, I've built the non-9 to 5 and has brought me to where I am now.
Well, you've already shared some of the challenges that you, it's really about being faith and trust based.
Yes. Yeah.
It sounds simple enough, but it's not that easy because you can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't smell it, you can't wrap your arms around it, and that's the total opposite of everything that we're taught. Manage your emotions or control them. Yeah, we're taught to control. I like to manage. Manage is easier. Control this, control that, and if you're not, then you're a failure.
Right.
So how did you start to work with your own mindset so that you did share that you went from the fear to the love, and you talked about it a little bit, but how did you really start to work with this to say, okay, when I follow that, everything's good?
Yeah. So I would say it was a combination of things. One, the first thing that came to my mind when you said that was the depression was lifting. And for me, when I've been in the space of depression, I can't see, think clearly, do clearly. All I hear is all the things that I'm bad at or all the reasons why I'm wrong. And that started to lift. So that gave me a bit more of a grounded place to come from. And I was actually taught some very specific writing tools with very specific writing prompts from my mentor. And here's the interesting thing about that. It's not journaling, and it was something very specific. And I teach that to my clients as well. But for the first 6 months I was taught that, I was like, no, I'm not doing this. This doesn't make any sense to me because this is not going to help me build my business. But there was still this desire, or I will say curiosity, as to what these tools could do for me. When I finally allowed myself to use them and be consistent with them, I would say that's when things started to shift. As well as, and I can't really make this a tangible example, as well as I personally value long-term support. And I talk about it a lot. I value having someone or a community of people, not just in my corner, but really who get me, but are willing to hold me accountable and take a stand for me and say, no. And people that I trust. And my mentor started to really not just be that person, but then open me up to a community of people. I want to go back for a minute though, because I use the word consistency, and that's been a huge word for me in my life, because I've been the most inconsistent person that I know. But I have learned how to do something every day that I never used to do every day. You know how people will say, I meditate every day? That's definitely been one of the hardest things for me. And I meditate, but I don't do it every day. It's an area that I haven't been able to be consistent in. But I've been able to learn there's not a better way to say it, but I have to make myself do it. And then I have support from other community members, support from my mentor that are, did you do this thing? Okay, and this happened, so you've got to go back to that thing. And every time I fall off the wagon, I get back on. I have to keep going and keep going and keep going, Because my belief now, which was different back then, I really believe that failure doesn't exist. It's not a real thing, because if you keep getting back up and you keep training yourself, you can only go one way. But if you fall off and then you just go, I can't, or I don't know how, or it'll never work, then you can't get back up again. I don't know, did I answer your question?
Yes, you're good. Where you're going is where it's supposed to go for today. That's what's really, it's about your inner GPS, and how could you not be sharing that? This is what you're sharing.
Yeah.
And was it, things were not working real well for me last year for quite a few months. And I think it was December or just maybe the end of November, December anyway of last year. And I said, I've got to get back to basics. And I had stopped doing some basic things like affirmations and whatnot. I'm still very careful when I do them, because if you're not in the right mindset, it actually backfires on you. So there are, a day or two every once in a while, it's like, okay, I'm not exactly in the right spot. So it's best for me to process this and not do the affirmations, because it actually has the opposite effect. But the consistency is what's important. So even if you just sit in that same spot,
yes, the
body gets benefit. Yeah. And it's this thing that we get to retrain over and over and over again, because it's so easy. It just goes, oh, you think so?
Right. Yeah.
Please share one of your favorite ways that you work with your clients, Jen.
Wow, one of my favorite ways. So when you say favorite ways, can you give me a little bit more clarity around
Sure.
that?
What of all of your clients over the years or whatnot, is there one technique or one strategy or one way that you work with them that seems to be maybe your favorite or their favorite?
Yeah, I'll tell you what just came to my mind, actually, and it kind of might sound like a funny one, but it's, being intuitive, right? It's the one that popped into my mind, so I'm going to share that one. And this is more so of a new one, because I didn't actually realize I was teaching my clients this up until recently, and I saw a trend with all of them, and I was like, wow, everyone needs to learn this, because it's actually something that I'm pretty strong at, and I need to teach this more. So calendaring, on a real practical level. So something that's maybe not so intuitive, you wouldn't think it's so intuitive based, actually how to use a calendar, and how to use a calendar, what to put in the calendar, and how to interact with the calendar. So I learned for myself over the past several years that I need a lot of structure. But before then, I was fighting structure, because I thought if I had a lot of structure, I couldn't be creative, I couldn't have fun, I couldn't have freedom. And when I just was open to it and tried it out, I noticed that things would feel a lot more grounded, a lot more calm. And I'm a highly sensitive person, so my energy can be like, my nervous system can really be disrupted. So I love when, and there's a client that I have in mind right now that I'm currently working with, she has shared with me, she calls them awkward time allotments. She'll say, I'll have an appointment to go to, or I have something to do, but I've got this weird space in my calendar that I don't know what to do with it. So what we've been doing is really going through what are her priorities and what makes the most sense, and actually filling in those spaces, because that awkward time allotment before an appointment could actually be 10 minutes of deep breathing, because then that supports her in being really focused for that appointment. Or it could be writing something down, or it could be doing something creative in that time. So that's the thing that came to my mind.
And it's so important, and I totally get if there's structure, then how can you channel? How can you be intuitive or allow that?
Yeah.
I'm also highly sensitive and very much a channel, and we're doing this all the time. And yet I can, if I know what I'm doing during the day and I have my appointments listed out, and I have tried on several occasions to, structure in between, and it never goes right. Never. So I just list what it is I want to do, and then I look at I go, okay, so how can I best use this particular slot of time? And so I plug something in. So I have kind of a loose structure, so I know what I want to do that day with my appointments and whatnot, and it works because then I have the freedom to not have to think about what it is. And it's so true. When you learn how to calendar in a way that works, you actually have more freedom because you're not keeping it here.
Yes. Yes.
And you're freer. You're freer to fly around the cabin or whatever, right?
I love that, because you really, the way you share it back, I know that you really get it. And I know that you're a phenomenal creative person, being so intuitive in the work that you do, but being that you can also see how structure supports you as a creative, as an intuitive, it is so needed. So I really appreciate it.
It is. You're very welcome, beautiful lady. Would you please tell our listeners, and I want to thank you for your time because we scheduled this out quite a while ago on purpose. And it's so important because, okay, just a second. I'm being reminded or nudged to just bring this back to the beginning. When you gave your notice, now we're not saying this is what you need to do. However, if you find yourself in this kind of position, follow it. Now you need to go in and really double, maybe triple or quadruple check, because you don't want to go, I'm out of here on a rant. We'll leave it at that word, okay?
Yeah.
Most everyone gets some kind of a nudge or a shove or a push, and yours was, I can't be here anymore, and you knew that, and it had been building up. You had no plan at that time.
Right.
You just knew you had to do this. Other people have a plan, or they started in business. I was shoved out the door, and luckily I had this kind of sort of started, but it's nothing like what it was 8 years ago when I went full time. And I had no idea how to do any of it.
Right.
Just because you follow guidance, you have to do the other parts and the pieces. Right. And that's part of what Jen was sharing with you today is she didn't have it all, not in the beginning, and we're still learning. We're still refining it.
I don't have it all. I'll never have it all.
No, we just have it better together at the moment, right? Until the next piece of guidance or whatnot comes through. Yes. Would you please tell our viewers how they can find you, beautiful?
Absolutely. So my website it's thenon9to5.com, and it's all written out. So I'm not going to spell the whole thing, but thenon9to5.com. So 9 and 5 are spelled out. And that's my website. You can find me there. And I'm also on Facebook. You can just type my name in and search me, Jen, Jen, and then my last name is Shultz. But the website's definitely the best place to go to, for sure.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, beautiful soul, for being here. Please pop by with comments and say hello and share this. You just never know who's going to need to hear something that Jen has shared with us today. I am your host, Angel Lady Terry Marie. Please pop by and visit our website, angeldreamteam.com. Get your free gift, Angels, Success, and Prosperity. Become a mover and shaker of your reality. Thank you again, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye for now.